Have you ever noticed how easily people give their power away? A careless insult makes them explode. A cold shoulder sends them spiraling into doubt, a little rejection, and suddenly, they're begging, chasing, reacting. Most people don't lead their emotions, they get led by them. And that's where they lose the game. But there's another kind of person. The one who doesn't flinch. The one who watches quietly while everyone else burns. The one who listens more than they speak and reveals less than they feel. Machiavelli never saw emotion as weakness. He saw it as a weapon. A tool meant not to be worn on the sleeve, but to be sheathed, sharpened, and used with intention. Because in today's world, outrage is currency. Attention is power. And those who can't control their emotions will always be owned by those who can. Let's be clear, this isn't about being heartless or cold. This is about survival. It's about clarity in a world designed to provoke you. It's about becoming unshakable in a society that profits from your reaction. So, ask yourself, when the world tries to bait you, do you bite? When you're insulted, do you react or do you observe? And when emotions rise like a storm, can you hold still long enough to see where the real power lies? Because in the war of influence, the battlefield isn't out there, it's inside you. And the one who wins is the one who stays silent while others unravel. Welcome to the first law of emotional power. Master yourself and no one will ever master you. Before you can command anyone else's emotions, you must first conquer your own. But emotional mastery doesn't mean becoming numb. It means becoming unreadable. See, the man who shows nothing reveals nothing. And the less people know about your inner world, the less power they have to touch it. Machiavelli once said a ruler must be both lion and fox, strength paired with subtlety. Emotion is natural, but reaction, that's a choice. Think about today's leaders. One moment of anger on camera, one public outburst, and suddenly they're not feared, they're fragile. They've become transparent, predictable, exposed. Now, compare that to someone like Angela Merkel, quiet, calm, composed, no drama, no leaks, and yet she held Europe together through some of its most chaotic years. Why? Because emotional neutrality isn't emptiness, it's precision. It's leadership without noise. Even long before modern politics, Emperor Augustus understood this principle. He was constantly provoked by enemies, but rarely did he react publicly. Instead, he waited, he observed. And through strategic calm, he didn't just win battles, he built an empire. So what does this mean for you? It means slowing your reactions. It means resisting the urge to speak just to fill the silence. It means practicing what I call emotional minimalism. Say less, pause more, let others rush to reveal themselves, while you remain still, because here's the truth, the less you react, the more people reveal. Your silence becomes a mirror. Their emotions expose them while you stay hidden, untouchable, dangerous. Mastering your emotions doesn't make you passive, it makes you impenetrable. Because once you stop flinching, no one can use your feelings against you again. Fear doesn't always come with raised voices or clenched fists. Sometimes it whispers. It lingers in the silence. And when used with precision, it becomes the most powerful form of control. Machiavelli once wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." But he wasn't talking about brute force. He was talking about presence. The kind that unnerves without ever having to make a threat. Think about a mafia boss who never yells, who never raises his hand. He simply sits in silence. And yet the entire room shifts around him. No one knows what he's thinking, but everyone assumes consequences. Now go further back, Vlad the Impaler. He didn't waste time with speeches. He didn't send warnings. He sent forests of impaled enemies. His message wasn't shouted, it was carved into the land. It didn't provoke resistance. It burned itself into memory. That's the difference between noise and power. The loud are predictable, the silent, dangerous. Because when people can't read you, they prepare for the worst. And that preparation is controlled. In the modern world, we often confuse intimidation with effectiveness. A manager who screams may feel powerful at first, but over time, people tune out. Because when fear becomes constant noise, it loses its edge. But when fear is used with discipline, with restraint, It becomes atmosphere. Take the Roman general Sulla. When he marched on Rome, he didn't shout, he didn't bargain. He simply arrived, silent, composed, and deadly. His presence was the threat. No words needed, but here's the catch. Real fear isn't about cruelty, it's about clarity. People should feel that your approval is rare and your disappointment dangerous. Not because you say so, but because they feel it in the gaps, in the silence, in the unknown. Be unpredictable. Say less than they want to hear. Never reveal the full consequence. Let the imagination do the work. Because the most terrifying moment isn't the storm. It's the silence before it. Love is one of the most powerful emotional currencies we have. But like any currency, when it becomes too common, it loses its value. We live in a world of constant validation. Endless likes, constant praise. Everyone wants to be seen, heard, appreciated all the time. But here's the uncomfortable truth. What's predictable becomes invisible. Machiavelli understood this long before social media. He believed a wise ruler should give rewards seldom and unexpectedly, because surprise multiplies impact, and scarcity creates hunger. Think about the boss who rarely compliments. But when he does, it stays with you for weeks. Or the partner who showers you with affection, then suddenly goes quiet for a few days. You start questioning yourself. You try harder. Not because their love is overflowing, but because it's scarce. And when something is scarce, we chase it. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement, the same strategy casinos use. You don't win every time, but just often enough to keep pulling the lever, and the brain. It becomes addicted to the maybe. This isn't cruelty. It's about understanding how people respond to reward. When you give too much too easily, you become background noise. But when you give intentionally, then pull away. Your absence speaks louder than presence ever could. Look at Napoleon. Before battle, he walked among his soldiers, embraced them, spoke their names. He made them feel seen, but after victory, he retreated, distant, enigmatic. They didn't just fight for France. They fought for his approval, because he gave just enough, and then vanished. Your love should never be a default setting. It should be a reward, something people earn, something people miss when it's gone. So be warm when it matters. Be generous when it serves a purpose. But never let your affection become cheap. Because in a world addicted to constant attention, the rarest presence becomes the most powerful. Not all chains are visible. Some are emotional, and guilt is the strongest chain of all because it doesn't bind the body. It binds the mind. See, most people think guilt is something you give to others. They think it's about pointing fingers, raising voices, accusing. But the most powerful form of guilt is silent. It's the kind that someone creates in their own mind without you saying a word. Machiavelli knew this. He understood that true control doesn't always come through domination. It comes through direction, through shaping how someone sees themselves, because if you can make someone feel like they've disappointed you without ever telling them, they'll work twice as hard to regain your approval. That's not force. That's leverage. Think about a mentor you respected, someone who once believed in you. Now imagine they suddenly go cold. They don't criticize. They just withdraw. They look at you differently, but they never explain. And suddenly, you're spiraling. You rehearse what you'd say. You chase their approval. Not because they asked for it, but because you can't bear the silence. That's guilt. And it tightens like a chain without a sound. Parents use it. Leaders use it. Partners, friends, movements, everyone, whether consciously or not, uses guilt to influence. Think of Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor of Rome. When his generals failed him, he didn't explode, he didn't shame them. He simply stepped back, quiet, measured, and those around him, knowing his discipline and integrity, felt the weight of that silent disappointment. They went to great lengths to regain his silent respect. That's the paradox of guilt. It feels self-inflicted, but it's engineered, not by aggression, but by silence. So how do you use it? Simple. Don't argue. Don't accuse. Withdraw. Say less. Let the other person fill in the blanks with their imagination. Because once they start blaming themselves, you've already won. Power isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet distance. That haunts the loudest. Emotion feels like truth. But if you're not careful, it becomes your biggest liability. Because in the heat of the moment, most people don't act from strength. They react from weakness. They think they're being authentic, but what they're really doing is giving away control. They lash out, they over-explain. They expose wounds that haven't healed, Machiavelli warned us. How we live is so far removed from how we ought to live, that he who abandons what is done for what ought to be done learns his ruin rather than his preservation. Translation: stop chasing ideals. Start choosing what works. The world doesn't reward emotional honesty, it rewards emotional intelligence. And that means knowing when to feel and when to act, because anger may feel powerful, but it narrows your vision. Fear may feel urgent, but it clouds your judgment. Sadness may feel honest, but it opens the door to manipulation. Look at Lincoln. During the Civil War, he was insulted constantly, personally, politically, publicly. But instead of reacting, he wrote what he called hot letters, letters full of rage he never sent. Why? Because he knew something most people never learn: venting feels good. But strategy wins wars. So here's the question: when you're triggered, do you respond with precision or with ego? When you're insulted, do you seek justice or power? And when the storm hits, can you stand still long enough to see the bigger picture? Because emotional urgency is short-term, but strategic calm, that's timeless. The one who pauses sees more. The one who waits chooses the battlefield. The one who masters reaction rewrites the outcome. In a world built to provoke you to bait you into revealing your hand, the greatest threat you can offer is stillness. So don't be the fire. Be the hand that controls it. So now you know the 5 laws, not theories, not feel-good advice, but real tools used by emperors, CEOs, warlords, and kings. 1. Master yourself first, because if you can't command your own emotions, someone else will. 2. Use fear as a frame, not to harm, but to shape the atmosphere around you. 3. Give. Love strategically, and make your absence louder than your presence. 4. Guilt is a silent chain, and the strongest chains are the ones people put on themselves. 5. Strategy over emotion, because calm isn't weakness. It's the foundation of power. But here's the truth most people never see: emotional control is just the first layer, the outer armor. Because the real players, the ones who shape alliances, rewrite narratives, and bend outcomes, they don't just control emotions. They control perception. And how do they do it? Through deception. Not lies for cruelty, but lies for control. Subtle, silent, strategic. In the next chapter, I'll reveal the 5 laws of deception, the exact psychological tactics Machiavelli used to manipulate kings, rivals, and allies without ever lifting a sword. If you don't know these laws, they will be used against you. So if you're ready to see the game behind the game, subscribe, turn the bell on, and share this with someone who needs emotional armor as much as you do, because the world doesn't reward truth. It rewards control. And those who master both, they don't play by the rules, they write them.